Ladies and gentlemen, fans of all things Philadelphia sports. Well, if you're fans of 3 of the 4 Philadelphia sports and not the 76ers, you may have came to the wrong place today. We are all Sixers today. I'm Josh Safran, filling in for my guy, Reverend Hyde, and enjoy your nice dinner banners. And we've got a special guest today. We're going to come to you first, Brandon, host of the Garbage into Gold podcast, talking all things Sixers. Brandon, how are we doing today?
Doing good. Feeling mostly positive after the Sixers Game 1 victory over the Wizards on Sunday. It was a typical okay Sixers game. Glad they got the victory after having 8 or 9 days off. But yeah, doing well. Excited for Wednesday and the incoming or the upcoming games after that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Excited for Wednesday as well. A little bit sluggish start, but we'll jump into that in a few seconds here. Mr. YG, young gentleman, you were in like what was it? Lost City? Something?
Lost City, West Virginia. But so that's the reason for the hoarse voice today. So Max is lucky because when he makes me mad, I'm not gonna be able to yell at the top of my lungs. So he gets away with a couple.
Let's go.
Brandon,
I'm taking freebies tonight.
Freebies. I mean, Brandon, thank you for joining the show. By the way, Garbage and Gold, first team all name for podcasts.
Oh yeah. I mean, Mark Zumoff is a legend.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's so well done. So great. I know by that name already, you got some great things to add. So I'm ready. Hopefully you can be as real as I am with these two about the Sixers because
I guess we'll see.
Maybe they get me hot.
Hey man, I'm going full on Homer today. I don't even care. I'm pumped up, and I'm feeling. It's gonna be a long time that I'm gonna be feeling this positive about the team, so I'm gonna bask in it while I can. Digits. Speaking of Homer, this guy's been calling my new affiliate Trust the Process Live his home for a while. Longest tenured member. We're adding some digits here, Maxadelphia. How are we feeling?
I'm good. And aptly, we brought up Mark Zumoff already, and I'm just going to throw this out there. You talk about being in playoff form. Mark Zumoff came to play on Sunday afternoon. That man was locked in.
He was ready to go. He was absolutely locked in.
Yeah,
I'm jealous. I'm jealous, man. I was in New Jersey, visiting the missus in New Jersey, and TNT was brutal. I was dying with missing my guy Zoo and a la tweets. Just the classic 1-2 punch, the best in the league, in my opinion. But gentlemen, we got playoff basketball to talk about. So without further ado, I want to get right into this thing. And Brandon, you started us off. I'm going to come right to you. You talked about that first game. Here's my question. Here's my burning question to start us off today. That looked like, you said it was kind of a typical performance. So you're playing the 8-seed Wizards. They are, I believe, 4 games under 500. If the Sixers don't sweep the Wizards, is that cause for concern at all? Especially, we got a lot of people. They got their eyes on the title already.
No, I don't think so. I mean, when you have a team with Beal, Westbrook, you just know, and Bertans, who is like an all-time Sixers killer. He's like the Brian McCann of the Braves, as he was to the Phillies, but Bertans is to the Sixers. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about it a little bit before we recorded, but it'd be very, very un-Sixers-like for them to take care of business in 4 games. It's just not their personality. So I think Washington probably ends up stealing a game at home. Beal will go off. Bertans will hit 15 straight 3-pointers. Maybe a little bit of an over-exaggeration there, but I think it's not going to be a cause for concern because it's the NBA playoffs. There are a lot of good teams here, and I think the Sixers are the clear better team. And I don't think any loss in this series should worry anybody long term, unless there's injuries that come up with it. So no, I wouldn't be worried after 1 loss or 2 losses even.
Ooh, 2 losses there. It might be a little too far for me, but
Wait. No one said 2 losses now.
You said 2 losses and said don't. Brandon,
I wouldn't be worried after 2. I'm not saying I expect 2 to happen. I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time. I'm not going to worry. You can worry all you want. I'm not going to.
He said you were.
Fair play.
Josh would be worried. Brandon, I'm going to tell you right now. Next 2 losses happened. Josh is jumping on all types of bandwagons. Josh is worried.
Hey, man, don't put words into my mouth, YG. But YG, I'm going to come right back to you on that note. What are your thoughts on it? If they're not sweeping in 4, what is there any worry?
I mean, I agree with the calmness and the confidence that Brandon said it with. That no, I wouldn't be worried if the Sixers didn't sweep, because it depends on how it happens. Now, if it happens in a way where you go to Washington, maybe in an elimination format, already up 3-0, game 4 in Washington, and Russ has a triple double, a 35-point triple double. Brad Beal goes for 30 to 35 plus on a back against the wall, against the ropes type situation, and wins them a game. You have to be prepared for that when you have two, elite level guards like that, and you're playing against them. Brandon, it's funny how you said that there's all good teams in the playoffs, but when I called the Wizards a good team pre-show, everyone was all in arms, like, "Oh, don't call Wizards a good team." But you're right, because
they have good players. They're not a good team.
Okay, maybe that's because I agree with that. That's more of what I should say. Is they're playing not just good players or great players. They're playing 2 superstar, all-star level players who are bound to go get you one, especially in a back against the wall situation. But let it happen in a scenario where Embiid fails to show up late game, turning the ball over a bunch. Ben Simmons gives another 6-point performance. We'll get to that. Your bench doesn't step up. Stuff is starting to look awry in the first round, especially if it gets to 2 games. Now, if it gets to 2 games, I think the alarms should start to be sound. That's all I'm saying. If it gets to 2 games in whatever fashion, like alarms, you have to definitely be alarmed. Maybe even when it gets to 2 games. But you let the Wizards tie it up 2-2. You still won 4-2 at the end of the day. But if they tie it up 2-2, that's different. I did not expect that. I would not expect that.
I can't even believe what I'm hearing. The 2 straight answers to start the show are toying with this idea that the Sixers are dropping 2 games to the Wizards.
No. I'm the opposite, Josh. I'm saying if that happens, the reason why I would be worried is because I'm so expecting it not to happen. That would be a little crazy if it happens.
Yeah. Thank you, Zach James. They better not lose 2 games against these defenseless Wizards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with Zach over there, but just let me come to you. Let's round it out, and then I want to put my 2 cents into this as well. What do we got?
I mean, I think the Wizards gave us their best defensive performance that we'll get all series, and it still wasn't enough. You. So I have a hard time. I have a hard time seeing. I will say this: there are 2 really elite players on another team, and it's just the competitor that Beal and Westbrook are. I will say sweep is maybe a little unlikely. I'm sure they can eke out a 3-point win at home in Game 4 or something like that. But I mean, the fact is that the bigger debate about the series is who should be getting minutes and what lineups are working and
Yeah.
I think that if it were to get to the point where the Sixers lose 2 games, I do think the alarms need to go off on the Sixers, because that means that they're tinkering too much. They're trying to fit square pegs in round holes. But I mean, they had a pretty.
You're expecting a sweep. You're expecting a sweep then.
I'll say a gentleman's sweep. I'll say the Wizards can probably nab one at home where Beal just goes crazy and hooks up 35 shots and it's just enough. It's enough for 1 game. It's enough to remind everybody that Bradley Beal is trapped in Washington and he's underrated and all that stuff that we go through every offseason.
To make it look respectable is where I see the Wizards winning. Like Russ and Beal saying, we're not getting swept. We may not win the series, but we're not going out like that. We're not getting swept.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't think they win 2. Again, I want to make that clear. I don't think they win 2. My concern would not be. It would be like a father where it's just I'm not upset. I'm just disappointed. I would still expect them to win if they lose 1, if they lose 2, but I don't expect them to lose 2. Raul Neto is their starting point guard.
Thank you.
Come on.
That is
not
true.
going to happen.
Look, here's my thing where it's I think Max, you said with the defense, if the Wizards were going to win a game in this series, it would have been yesterday, because you saw the Sixers come out. And it really, you could tell the team who had to play their way to get in, and they were a little bit, not fresh in the sense where they were rested, but they were playing. And the Sixers, they were sharp. Thank you. Yes, they were sharp. The Sixers count. And flat's not the right word. They just weren't polished. And by the second half, they got there. I think this should be 4 games. I really do. And I'm not going to be worried if the Wizards get one. I would be worried if the Wizards get one and Bradley Beal doesn't score 40 points, like literally 40 points for Bradley Beal. If Bradley Beal scores under 40, that means the other guys on the Wizards beat you at least one game. And I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, but that would just put that would put some doubt in my head if you other guys not named Bradley Beal did beat you, even if it's just one game. To me, this needs to be a sweep. Like low-key needs to be a sweep. Get in there with 4 games, be as rested as you can, so when you take on the Nets or the Bucks in the Eastern Conference Final, they have some wear and tear, and you have the freshest legs. Because I'm scared of the Nets, and I think the only way you're beating the Nets is if you have the fresher legs.
Well, I disagree with you. I disagree with you.
Oh, love it.
I disagree with you, Josh, that if the Wizards were going to win a game, it was going to be game 1. I actually think the other way around. The Wizards coming off of a play-in tournament, that takes a little more mileage on you.
So the Grizzlies.
You want to talk about 8-9 days not playing the court? That's 8-9 days of rest after a long 72-game season. Yeah. So they can be as unpolished as they want to be. They're fresher. They're well rested with the better roster. So I think I knew game 1 was going to be the Sixers putting their stamp on getting the first punch out of the gate. I definitely expected that. I think if there was a game that they're going to win, it's going to be my back is against the wall. I'm not going out like that. And when we win, we take it from there.
No, that's fair.
That's going to be the game that they win, not game 1. Game 1, we always go to the Sixers.
All I'll say about that is that, like, scenario-wise, I think that yesterday was the game that it's going to be their best chance to win. Might they pull out one? Sure.
Yeah.
But you had Embiid play 10 minutes in the first half. You had Simmons that finished with 6 points. And again, we'll talk about that later. Shake Milton struggled. You got some good Dwight Howard minutes, but it's like the MVP of the league pretty much was out for the entire first half. So if you wanted to win a game, you got the MVP in foul trouble. And that was the time to pounce on them. And they couldn't do it.
Now that boy Toby said,
Yeah, and just, right before we move on, it's just, Brandon, you kept saying it with Howell Neto. Like, you look across the court and yes, Bradley Beal is tremendous. Russell Westbrook broke the record, and I mean, he didn't look like a record breaker yesterday. But, I mean, aside from those 2 guys, and Bertans, I'm a big Bertans guy. I'd love to have that
Smith
guy.
too.
I see, like, he doesn't, like, I love Ish, don't get me wrong, but, like, it's Ish Smith, and most of all, it's the Alex Len, Daniel Gafford, it's Robin Lopez. I almost said Brooke. Robin Lopez.
Oh, man. Robin Lopez was a sight for sore eyes yesterday.
The rap trio to try to throw at Joel Embiid. That's not even a thought.
That's just what I'm saying. Like we can go through like Bradley Beal and Russ, but like those are the 3 guys you're throwing at Joel. To me, this should be an easy 4. But I agree. Like if Beal's going to put up 41 game, I'm not freaking out if they drop it. I think it should be an easy sweep. But boys, that was like a formality. Oh, okay. JJ, did you have?
I was going to say really, really quick. I think if and when the Wizards do win a game, the Sixers will see it coming from light years away. Joel and Ben might not in the fourth quarter. It'll be a 122 to 90 something game. 5 minutes left in the fourth, and the starters will be out. And it's like y'all got this one. Y'all got this one. We're gonna go back to Philly and put a beat on y'all.
Sounds like vintage Sixers. I want to foot on the gas all the way. But we're moving into the next topic over here. The first one this is just a formality here. I had to talk about the series, but I think this is the headline topic here. Ben Simmons. I mean, why is he ever? He's so on brand all the time. He really is. Digits. I want to come to you with this one first. I mean, we know the stat line. We've heard it all day. 6, 15, 15, 0 for 6 from the free throw line. Yet,
that's the big one. That's the really, really big one. 0 for 6 because the issue is with free throws, right? Like, I don't want to say that he needs to do more. I mean, 15 rebounds and 15 assists, like, 0 for 6 shooting is obviously not going to happen again, but it's probably not going to get significantly better. But scoring-wise, that's probably going to be on the lower end of things. But it really comes down to this. Missing 2 free throws is a turnover. You get the ball on offense and you do nothing with it and the other team gets it. That's a turnover, essentially. So, missing pairs of free throws isn't a huge deal until it's a big deal late in the game. Thankfully, that wasn't a big deal in game 1. But, I mean, that's got to be the issue. That's always been the issue with him in late game offensive situations. Like, I actually think that he looked way better in terms of just strictly half court stuff and how the team interacted around him and how he was able to at least get on the ball. I mean, obviously he wasn't really able to finish much in terms of his shots, but I mean, obviously he was distributing well. He was creating space on offense. He had a lot of nice plays on offense, and that made me feel better about him, in terms of being able to operate effectively in a half court setting. But I mean, 0 for 6 free throws that's huge red flags. And, he even missed a couple of easy lanes. Like, I'm giving you the pass for the outside jumpers and not taking them. And you're not the guy who's dependent upon to put in the buckets and the points. But I mean, you got to take your opportunities when they're there, and free throws are absolutely crucial for him. I think that if that's going to be the extent of his range, I need him to hit free throws.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, Digits. JJ is not happy. I'm picking that up. That JJ is not happy with 6 points.
You're being way too nice. You're being way too
okay. I mean, I thought he played a pretty good game, but I mean, yeah, he was bad at scoring the ball. He did everything else well, though.
Yeah, but score the ball. He has to score the ball. We've been calling for this for a long time. This is not new because we knew now is when it was going to matter the most. He needed to start to score the ball more a long time ago. You say you give him a pass for, finding the open guy in transition and not taking the three. Sometimes when you're 6'9", 225 plus, the best option is to put your head down and go to the rim in transition. Sometimes it's not to kick it out. So we talk about all the time, an aggressive Ben Simmons is one of the most dangerous players in the league. And he has to take advantage, especially when he's playing a team with an up-tempo style, not playoff style where they slow it down. He's got to take advantage of that and be more aggressive. And it's kind of a catch-22 because the reason why he's not is because he's going to get fouled more, and then that 0 for 6 from the line is staring him in the face. Yeah. That's kind of the nasty cycle that he's in. But he's got to put more pressure on the defense interiorly, especially if he can't do it in the half court. In the half court, he's minimized to, trying to go back to the basket and maybe probe the lane and find someone to kick it out to, where he's so lethal on the offensive end is in transition. And 6 points just isn't getting it done. Now, 15 rebounds and 15 assists, yeah, obviously I can't ask him to do any more than that. And then he was playing absolutely stifling defense at times. Him and Matisse Thybulle on the defensive end was just, my goodness, at points. The on-ball defense was great. But I need 6 points out of you, or more than 6 points out of you. And a lot of people were saying, well, look at Tobias Harris. He picked up the slack, 37 points in a playoff game. But 27 of that came in the first half. And there was a lull in the second half where Tobias struggled to put the ball on the rim. And Joel Embiid isn't going. Joel Embiid doesn't have it. He only played 10 minutes in the first half. This is where Ben Simmons needs to score the ball now. This is where he needs to insert it to stop this, these runs that opposing teams can have. He's got to be able to be a viable third option on offense. 6 points isn't it. So, yes, you can call on him to do more. It's okay for someone to get 15 rebounds and 15 assists and for me to look at you as an all-star, the third best player on a title contending team, and tell you I need more than that. I need more than that. I need more than 6 points. It's okay to say.
That was one of the most diplomatic critiques I've ever heard of Ben Simmons, honestly. Like, it wasn't – you weren't coming for heads or anything.
I need more than that. You're only going to beat the Wizards like that.
Now, that's a real good point. Now, Brandon, I mean, you've been doing Sixers podcasts for a while. You have to be exhausted talking about Ben Simmons in general. I mean, like, if people who don't watch Sixers try and talk about Ben Simmons are like, let's just not do this. It's like politics at this point. But Brandon, come on, humor us. Does he need to do more?
I got a text from my friend that's a Spurs fan the other night. The Sixers should run the offense through Ben Simmons, and I'm just like, dude, don't start with me.
Don't even
start. I mean, there's no more of a polarizing player in Philadelphia 76ers history. There's not, and it's gonna be after he's gone from here, retired, whatever. It's always gonna be the argument. And it's very, very hard to judge because I want more than 6 points too. That being said, he held Bradley Beal on 28 possessions to 1 for 6 shooting. Bradley Beal shot 70% against other defenders. So I think that's the big takeaway for me. 15 assists, 15 rebounds, great. 8 of them were offensive, which is huge. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Does Ben need to do more in general? Yes, to score. I don't think he needs to do more against the Wizards, though. I think what he's doing against the Wizards will be fine. But if they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you're looking at the Bucks or the Nets. Well, the Bucks, because I feel like the Nets don't really defend extremely well. But if you're against the Bucks or even the Heat, you need to find a way to make him work in the half court, because
isn't that the focus? Like, are we, the focus should be, will this get it done in later rounds? The focus shouldn't be, is this going to get it done?
And it's not going to be. And so I'd like to see some variation there. That being said, offensively, not only did he get 15 assists, but at the same time, he was setting screens and rolling and getting other guys open that way too. So I think that's one thing that I sometimes forget to notice, especially during his low scoring games, is how he sets picks and lets Curry and Green come right off those picks and hit threes. So again, I'm mostly an anti-Ben Simmons guy. I'm just like, we can't deal with 12 points, 12 points a game from this guy, especially in the playoffs. But, against the Wizards, it's going to be enough. It's not going to be enough against better teams, though.
Yeah, I just hate to hear stuff like, oh, but he's out there setting good screens. Like
that's not acceptable.
I don't mean to make fun of the point. I say that as an example of, like, I hate to hear that we have to go to such small details. Like, yeah, that's a given that he should be out there, like, setting good screens.
Yeah.
That doesn't make up for the fact that he's not doing more in a place that we know he could do so much more in. If we knew that his limitation was 6 points, 15 rebounds, 15 assists, we'd be happy. But it's not. And I'm not saying he has to go put up a 25 to 30 point game, but not 6. Not 6. If he lands in the 15 to 18 to 20 range, that's what Ben Simmons can give me. It's what I know he can give me on a playoff nightly basis. I just know it.
And that's why it's so hard to have a conversation about him. It's like, because it's like so the setting screen stuff is what I result to. I'm just like, I got to find positives because they won the game. Because they won the game. I don't want to be overly negative about it.
And Brandon, he's a plus 18 on the floor. So he's impacting the game, and they're winning, right. and he's doing something right. They're playing such productive basketball when he's out there. But you can't, I can't help but stare 6 points in the face and be like, I know you can give me more than that. Because you're right, against, the Heat leveling up, it's not going to be a plus 18 if you're only 6 points on the floor. It's just not going to be a plus 18.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just like age-old Ben Simmons thing. I was about to say it's tricky, but it's like, yeah, of course it's tricky. It's Ben Simmons. We're talking about Ben Simmons. I, believe it or not, don't think he really needs to do that much more. I've had a lot of problems with Ben Simmons, and here's what I will say. I mean, if Ben Simmons shoots his career free throw percentage in this Wizards game, we're not even talking about it. This guy has a triple-double, 10, 15, and 15, and it's not the most impressive triple-double ever, but he's got a triple-double.
I think that's a great point, Josh, honestly, because 4 points is all that separates us. That's 66% from the line. That's 33% from the line, and one dunk and one less assist. Like, there's a lot of avenues where we're just like, hey, Ben Simmons triple-double. Like, how often should we expect a triple-double from him in the playoffs? Like, instead of does he need to?
And that's why he needs to be more aggressive, because, 6 free throws, honestly, not enough. Go to the line 10 or 12 times. Get there more.
Great point. Get there more.
That's the age-old problem with that. Inconsistent aggression.
Yeah.
What came first, the points or the free throw attempts?
The free throw attempts for sure.
They all go to the same column, I guess, in the end.
The free throw attempts for sure go up first.
And I mean, it's also like, it sounds a little bit dumb, but it's like you're getting the misses out of the way also. I mean, basketball, it's a game of percentages, right? So he goes 0 for 6 this game. You have to believe there's going to be a progression to the mean next game, and he'll be shooting them more maybe when they matter. So listen, I've been tough on Ben Simmons since I gave him a pass his rookie year, as I think a lot of us did. But I've been tough on Ben Simmons this whole time. It's Joel Embiid's team, right? And if Embiid is producing the way we know Embiid's producing, Brandon, you said it, MVP, which, by the way, I think as Sixers fans, we need to treat this year like Carson Wentz's MVP year. Like, Eagles fans still talk about that year that Tom Brady won the MVP and, like, allude to it like, oh, yeah, Carson's MVP, or, oh, wait, like, that's how we should talk about Embiid's year. I was watching Jokic, like, he scored 34 points and all, but like he can't carry the team. I have just the utmost faith.
You
Embiid.
can never I will never allow anyone to phantom give the MVP to somebody. If you ain't win the MVP, you ain't win the MVP.
I'm sorry, MVP candidate. So sorry.
There you go. You can say MVP candidate season all you want. Absolutely.
It's my MVP.
You're not gonna phantom give someone the did you hear him? You're not gonna give someone the MVP until they get the MVP. That's too coveted of an award.
Hey, in my book, Joel Embiid, 2021 MVP.
Look, if we all had votes, it'd be 4-0. 4-0 across the board, he's an MVP. I'm guessing, Brandon. I'm guessing you'd be on the MVP weight.
Yeah.
But it's just not how the cookie crumbled, man. Presumably.
And just one last point on the Simmons thing. He's like option 3B on offense, and like that's fine. You got to live with that. I'd like him to be more, but I think this team will be just fine if he's option 3B, as in him and Seth Curry and Danny Green kind of just are like a 3A, 3B, 3C there. But let's move on, gentlemen, because I like the rotations yesterday up to a certain extent, but I think it gave us a nice little taste of what we can expect, at least in this round. Not sure about rounds before when it really gets shortened, but what's up, Doc? What did you take away from the first game? I think there was a little bit more experimenting considering it was his first playoff game. But James Jackson, I want to hear what you have to say about the rotations Doc was throwing out yesterday and what you can expect going forward with the bench.
I love that he wasn't afraid to go 8-9 deep first playoff game and see what he can get out of his young players. That's what the first round is for, and that's what the cojones, so to speak, that a veteran coach has going into a playoff. Because I think a young coach kind of sticks by the book a little bit. In the playoffs, rotations get shortened. I'm going 7-8 if absolutely necessary if someone gets in foul trouble. But Doc allowed even a young guy like Maxey to get big playoff minutes, and Maxey responded and giving a positive output. So I think you continue to do that to a healthy extent. Now you can't play with lineups too much as this is the playoffs, and you have to be sure of what you want to put out there and who you want to put out on the floor. But from that standpoint, like I love that in game one, he gave everybody a little bit longer of a leash, a little bit more of an exposure to see what they could give. And I think it's a more clear direction where to go down the line. Because a lot of these guys, you don't know what you have until you see them in the playoffs. This is his first year with the team. So he has to see what he can get out of a lot of people, especially his draft picks. So I think he played it smart from that angle. You're going to need your bench if you're going to make a deep playoff run.
Brandon, I mean, I saw you opening your mouth there. Just go right ahead.
I was thinking about what I was going to say. I mean, I agree. I was very happy to see him willing to adjust because I think that was one concern that a lot of people had with Doc Rivers coming in here is that he's a veteran coach and he has, championship pedigree and everything like that, but he does sometimes get stubborn when it comes to his lineups and his rotations, as we saw throughout the regular season. I mean, I wanted to kill myself at least 7 times with all bench lineups, like they were the worst thing in the entire world. So I'm glad we only saw them for a couple of minutes last night when they were a little bit ahead and they can hold themselves above water because of George Hill mostly. I mean, I liked what I saw from the bench. It'll obviously shorten up as we go deeper into the playoffs. And I think it'll be very situational too. If Seth Curry gets into foul trouble again, we might end up seeing Furkan Korkmaz, even if he's not in the rotation technically. If Shake is off, then you'll see Tyrese Maxey. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he adjusts his coaching style and how much shorter the leash gets as we progress and get a little bit further. I mean, I was actually pretty surprised that we saw Maxey and even saw Korkmaz. I was expecting like 9 guys, maybe not 10 or 11.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that one, Brandon. I was surprised to see Matt. I wasn't like shocked considering, the flow of the game and what you said about Shake, but yeah, I was not expecting that many guys going into it, and I can't say I'm complaining either. Digits, what are your thoughts on it? And, what's the crystal ball telling you based on the first game? Do you think it's going to stay like this or what?
I think there's two pretty important things that we actually haven't gotten to yet. I think one is I think Brandon mentioned this earlier. Embiid only played 10 minutes in the first half. You have to tweak with lineups. You have to play small. Dwight Howard is only good for a stretch here and there, but I think the floodgates open for almost everybody to touch the floor because Embiid got in foul trouble first and second quarter. He had to take extended breaks. I remember he picked up his 3rd foul of the game, I think with like 7 minutes to go in the first half. And I'm not sure if we really even saw him again, minus maybe a couple, late shot clock and the half, coming, being able to sub out of a dead ball situation. And I think that kind of ties in with my next point, something else we didn't discuss, is that you can kind of get away with this, especially with your younger guys when you're at home, right? You're able to just throw Maxey out there with George Hill and Tobias and Dwight Howard because you're the number one seed. You're at home. Your guys are confident. This is where they do their work. This is home base for them. Everybody's in their element there. I think if Game 3 is any type of competitive, as in, it's not off the rails by halftime for either side, I think Game 3 we're going to see a lot of what Doc Rivers' true playoff rotation is, especially come the second half. I wouldn't be surprised if he maybe tries to throw some bones in there, just see if he can get people going in the first half of a potential Game 3 hypothetical. I think the second half of Game 3 and potentially Game 4, if games are close on the road, I don't think we get very deep into the bench. Maybe.
I think if you guys win Game 2, especially in whatever fashion, say you guys win dominantly in Game 2, then you go up with a comfortable 2-0 lead on the road. Now I need to see how Maxey is going to play on the road in a playoff game. I need to know now.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that 100%.
I need to know now in a 2-0 scenario on the road in the first round, because if he can't do it now, he can't do it any other time past now. So
I don't think he sees the floor if they're not winning by like 15 or 20. I just don't see it happening. I don't think Doc is the guy that'd be like, hey, let's see how he looks on the road. I feel like he's going to be like, I have my bench guys working now and the starters are going to play longer. So I think unless it's like a blowout, I don't think that we see him just get minutes to get minutes.
Right.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree with that.
Unless we see Shake Milton stink it up. And to me, like that's what I like the most out of the first game. I think, Brandon, you alluded to Doc's playoff rotations in the past, where he's very hell-bent with, this is my rotation, these are my guys, shoot yourself out of the slump. And we saw the exact opposite in Game 1. And this is what I wanted to see going into the playoffs with Doc, is ride the hot hand, because I don't think the Sixers have the best bench by any means, but they have a lot of good options that, night in and night out, could be hot or could be cold. I don't have the numbers up front, but I want to say Furk took 2 wide open threes, bricked them both, and Doc said, sorry, it's not your night, Furk, and on to the next guy. And I want him to keep doing that. Maybe not to the leash for guys like Furk and can't remember who else got in there that I felt like he yanked him pretty quickly. Maybe it was Shake. But I really liked how he just rode the hot hand, and I think it worked. And the other thing is George Hill. Let's all take a moment and applaud Daryl Morey, because this is something that we haven't seen these last few years, and it flies under the radar. I think, what did he get, 12 points? Like, he just comes in, he does his job. He's clearly been here before, and George Hill is going to weather the storm throughout the entire.
He and Simmons play very well together.
Now, I think they did play well together. George Hill gave you solid, 12 points. You're exactly correct. That's the scoring output that you need from him. There were more than a few situations that I was comfortable with where Ben Simmons does his transition thing, comes in, now it's a half court scenario, and the ball didn't find George Hill until maybe a rotation or two. That's the exact moment that George Hill was brought here for, or should help Ben Simmons with, and should help the offense with. So and the spacing of the floor wasn't right in those scenarios as well. So those just stuck out in my mind when I saw them, and it happened more than a couple of times. It happens once or twice in the course of a 48-minute game, that's fine. But it happened more than a couple of times, and they don't see the floor enough for it to happen more than 4 or 5 or 6 times where you're like, that's the thing that's got to be fixed going forward.
Because George Hill is a point guard, and Ben Simmons is a point guard too, whether we like it or not.
Point forward.
If we like it or not, and unfortunately, like, that's what it is. George Hill needs to have the ball in his hands to be effective. Pretty much, like he's not like an off-ball shooter very much. He needs to be able to create, right. And that's why we like Maxey, is because he's different than Ben, and that he can create his own shot off the dribble. That's what George Hill can do. We see him make layups with the shot clock expiring. He can hit threes and everything, but he's not the guy that they look for first or anything. But I think he's definitely the guy that can stabilize the second unit, especially if we have to go through those bench lineups plus a starter. But yeah, I mean, he had a great game. He did about everything that you wish that he could do as an acquisition at the trade deadline.
No, he did exactly what he was brought here to do. So real quick, I want to kind of throw a side question at you guys because I really liked what both of you said about George Hill in the second unit. Brandon, you hit it right on the head with this. Ben Simmons is a point guard. He's made it very clear from day one. He's a point guard. What would you think, and do you think it would be possible? They're kind of the same question. You get George Hill and you get Ben Simmons out there. Say, Ben, buddy, you can bring the ball up a couple times, but go be a 4. Like, I know it's positionless basketball or whatever, but I mean, Brandon, what would you think about that? Like, having Ben kind of play a little bit more of a traditional 4 and let George Hill run a point.
If Embiid's not on the floor, maybe. I don't know. I don't, because we tried that last year with Ben playing the 4 with Horford at the 5. It's just until he has like a serviceable jump, until he has a serviceable jump shot, he needs to be the guy that initiates. It's just, he's beautifully flawed. He's like a freak athlete that's an elite defender, but unfortunately his offense is flawed to where sometimes we have to suffer through whatever we can all his half court sets. I'd love to be able to do it, but I'm not sure other than like what we talked about earlier, setting screens, like what else does he do? He's not going to stretch the floor. And if Embiid's there, he can't be in the post really, unless Embiid's beyond the arc, which, it's.
I agree with you, Brandon. Josh, I see where your head's going now. I don't think he should ever be a traditional 4, but I think Ben Simmons, when he's on the floor with George Hill, I think he should be bringing the ball up in transition scenarios. It could be after a made bucket, but it's up tempo, fast. I'm in a full court position scenario. As soon as it becomes a half court set, the ball's got to find George Hill to reset. That's who we reset with, not Ben Simmons, where someone is sagging 15 feet off of him into the paint. When we reset, it's got to be with George Hill. That's why I think he comes into play.
I was going to say one more thing. Did you notice the first 2 guys off the bench, aside from Dwight Howard, were Hill and Matisse Thybulle? So it shows that, the defensive, like the transition defense that they're struggling with, they're going defense first off the bench. So I thought that was interesting.
It's a very solid point. Very solid point.
I'm a fan of that. I think that's bread and butter through the playoffs, especially against harder teams. And I'm going to say against the Knicks. Pump the brakes on that one. I know last episode, Brandon, we were all talking like it was a sure thing that it was going to be a Knicks-Sixers matchup, but what a shot from Trae Young there. Gentlemen, let's go wrap it up for the main event. Not a ton to get into with only one game against the Wizards, but my excitement is turned all the way up. I mean, the regular season was very lackluster, and I just through weekend 1 of the NBA playoffs, I'm ratcheting it all the way up.
It was a good weekend for playoff basketball. A lot of not a lot of just literally not a lot of regular season games where scoring is out of control. Fourth quarters were slow paced and methodical.
They were all intense too. They were all intense.
A lot of. I mean, there was 3 game winners over this first round of games. I think. Right?
Yeah.
Game deciding baskets.
Like I'm counting the Chris Middleton shot.
Me too. Yep.
Was real quick, would we say the Sixers game was actually the worst one, just objectively? I think it is.
That's a good question.
That's maybe.
I don't really think there were many bad.
I don't think there were any bad ones.
I'll say this. I think the Lakers Suns game was maybe objectively the worst.
The worst one.
The names out of it, like the quality of the Lakers offense was not very fun to watch.
Yeah, I never feared we were going to lose that game. I never feared like the Suns were going to lose. So
when Chris Paul got hurt, I definitely felt a little dicey. But like they weren't able to take advantage. Like during that stretch when he went out and the Lakers didn't do anything, like it was over then and there.
Let's talk about
love seeing our boy Dario make us proud, bodying LeBron in the post.
They still call him the homie. They still call him the homie, by the way.
That's awesome.
I love it.
The nickname traveled.
All right, boys, we're about to jump into every single one of these matchups. I'm excited for that as well. But real quick, it's our time to tell you our proud media partner at Philadelphia Sports Nation. Check them out at phlsportsnation.com. They're covering every single Philadelphia sport. But most importantly right now, your Philadelphia 76ers, where you can go listen to Brandon's podcast, Garbage into Gold, over there on PH Sports Nation. They got tons of other content as well, articles, you name it. And hey, if you've made it far in the episode and you're not a Sixers fan, you can read about the Philadelphia Union. You can read about that pitiful team in Citizens Bank Park. They're currently tied 1-1 right now, so maybe I shouldn't say too much
Sorry,
about
I
them.
just like the hat.
yeah.
Both of you
Yeah,
guys
Brent's currently in a,
stop.
Brent's
We
currently in a
Phillies
Phillies
bandwagon.
boycott.
Yeah.
Why? They need our support more than ever right now.
Brandon, if you
Yeah,
you
I
wanna
mean,
tell
I
him
just
why?
can't. Yeah, I mean, I just can't deal with the mediocrity anymore. They're stuck in mediocrity. I don't say how anybody got excited for this season when you still have
Really? And I'm assuming you sat through the process.
how can you root
Sixers
for a team?
fine.
Yeah, I was just like, how can
sat
you
through the
root for a
process
team?
Sixers fine, but
No
you can't deal with
direction.
you
I
can't
was
deal
just
with
like-
the 500 Phillies team.
Yeah, but the process Sixers were not like veteran guys. Like,
Yep.
I was like, I don't give a shit about like Gene Segura or Didi Gregorius. Like Didi's been great, but it's just like at the same time, it's like I can't get excited about these players, and their player development is just not good. Like it's just
no.
their prospects hit,
a-
and then Alec Boehm slumping. How many? There are more prospects that we can count that have not hit than have hit, especially over the last decade.
That's true. That's true.
I'll jump back on the bandwagon when they start winning again.
Naturally.
I'll admit it.
No shame. As long as you're upfront and honest about it.
And I'll be like, I was here the whole time.
I was here the whole time.
If you didn't see Peter Borges, all right, forget it, boys. We're jumping right into these matchups that we were all getting real excited to talk about. We're gonna go matchup by matchup. We're gonna say who's winning. We're gonna say how many games, our confidence in that, and then the most important, overall interest. Like how good is the series gonna be, really? And then we're just gonna go around the horn, rapid fire, because of matchups. I'm sure this will take a little bit amount of time here. Without further ado, let's check on the game that's starting, or it has started 7 minutes ago. The Heat versus Bucks. What a way to tip it off. I'm going to go left to right and then wrap it back around. So, JJ, Heat versus Bucks here.
I'm gonna go with the Bucks here. I was a little disheartening to see Giannis have another flat game and have Chris Middleton really have to kind of bail him out. But I really like the Bucks additions, and I think it's going to help Giannis in ways that he didn't even know, especially Drew Holiday having a great game one and PJ Tucker able to defend just so many positions and take a little bit of pressure off of Giannis on the defensive end. And that's what blew his gasket against the Heat the last time, trying to do it all. He doesn't have to anymore. So I say the Bucks in 6 or 7. I'm not sure exactly which one, because if there's any team that's going to fight, claw their way against you, it's going to be the Miami Heat and Jimmy Butler. But my interest level for this one, I mean, hey, it's, Eastern Conference second round rematch of last year. The Heat really have this aura about them of, we're under the radar again, where everyone's doubting us again, and we're going to claw our way through the playoffs again. And I just have my eye on the Bucks because, I don't want them to be fool's gold once again, but they have a new look to me. And I love the fact that at the end of the regular season, they made everyone clear that it wasn't a 2-team race atop the Eastern Conference, that they had something to do with it. And maybe not being the number 1 seed this time is a different avenue to take towards that. So, my interest level 1 to 10, 9 or 10 can't be too much more than that.
All right, Bucks in 6, interest level 9 or 10. Brandon, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I was just looking back at my picks to see if I was still confident in them, and there are some that I are, some that I'm not. But I have the Bucks in 6 for this one too, and my confidence level of that is maybe like a 6, maybe like a 6 or a 7. I just don't know, because it's like game one. It's very hard to know what's going to happen from there. I mean, Duncan Robinson was on fire from 3 for Miami. We've seen what Jimmy Butler can do, especially in clutch situations. I think I'm only going with the Bucks because they're the Heat inexperienced, but they're young players, even though that they went to the NBA Finals last year and everything. I think the Bucks just have a better team, better defense. I will say this, though. The only reason Giannis won MVP those years was because of those injuries. Gosh, I mean, like he is not a fun basketball player to watch. He's not a good basketball player. He's just a very good athlete that happens to be tall and can do things around the rim. I mean, we compared Ben Simmons to him, right? We compared Ben Simmons to him in some ways or another, but especially this, Giannis never guards the other team's best player either. So those Defensive Player of the Year awards, I mean, I'm a small sample size Giannis guy, but I've never been impressed every time that I see him. He's just a big guy is a freak athlete. And I see the Bucks in 6. Drew Holiday, most underrated NBA defender in the league, I think, and I think the Bucks depth is better than the Heat depth. So I'm gonna go Bucks in 6.
Digits, what are we thinking? We got another Bucks in 6?
All right, I will go Bucks in 7. And I mean, these teams are just so familiar. Like I feel like the Bucks, I feel like we don't really regard as a very mentally tough team in general. And I feel like that's really exemplified against the Heat, because this was the series that put the Heat on the map last year. I think once the Heat beat the Bucks last year, I think everybody kind of knew they were going to the finals, right? Like did anyone really think the Celtics were going to beat them in the Eastern Conference Finals last year? Exactly. So I would, especially after seeing game 1, I'm shocked that you guys think that Miami is going to go out on their home court in this one. I would be pretty surprised if this went anything but 7 games, honestly. For how close I think the series will be, I think it'll be probably, more must-watch games like game 1 was. And in terms of my confidence pick for who wins the series, I'll say like 66.6 repeating percent. Like I'd probably be higher on that, but that Giannis quote at the beginning of the playoffs, like it just didn't stick right with me.
Yeah.
You are the back-to-back reigning MVP, and you're just like, I hope this year is different. Like,
I hope we do it this year. I hope this is the one.
I don't know. It doesn't give me like I feel like that just kind of ties into the mental warfare aspect. Like he knows that the Bucks, he knows that the Heat are what kind of embarrassed him last year. Like the Bucks were getting killed last year after.
Yeah, if the Heat have Victor Oladipo, Max, if the Heat have Victor Oladipo, it'd be a slam home run pick for me. But I think they're missing that extra oomph that he would have given them. Like I thought that was one of the best moves at the trade deadline, and they didn't even get to benefit from it. And I think it's underrated how much they're going to miss him on the offensive end.
Bam's having trouble with Brook Lopez.
But don't doubt Brook Lopez now. I've been a Brook Lopez supporter.
Yeah, but we have Bam. We have people saying Bam was better than Embiid.
Right.
So it's just like,
God, I remember that.
But I think one of the most enjoyable things in the NBA is when Brook Lopez is snapping. It's just
he's great. I like him.
It's so fun.
Yeah, no, I'm going Bucks. I also go say 6, but I want to say my confidence level is like a 2. Like I could like. It's just so Max, I agree with you. I'm going to go with 6 because it's what I had in my head before, but I'm hearing you, I'm like, this is going 7. So Bucks at 6, confidence levels 2. Interest levels, like it's so high. This is such a good series, but let's move on to the next one because I think my interest level is going to be high in a lot of these. We got the Nuggets and the Trailblazers, the second game tonight. This is tough. I said it before the show. You could call it a match made in heaven for the Trailblazers, but I think it's a match made in hell for the Nuggets with Nurkic going against Jokic and, no Will Barton, no Jamal Murray going against, I don't know, maybe one of the best backcourts in the West Coast in Dame and CJ. So Digits, I'll start on you with this one. What are we thinking at Nuggets Trailblazers?
I will say that I'll take Trailblazers in 6 here. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit higher on the Nuggets before game 1, but it does kind of look like they were just maybe missing the firepower because Jokic still had a really, really, efficient and he was pretty dominant. He was pretty dominant, like in terms of how he operated on the floor, how he was, able to get his shots. I should say he was dominant in terms of his scoring offense.
Right.
What the Blazers did in game 1, and I think if this continues, I don't know how they'll lose the series, is they kept him one-on-one and they made sure to stay in man coverage against other guys, not to double Jokic and give him free passes out because that's how he's so deadly, is finding shooters or cutters. He's exceptionally talented at both. So the Blazers have realized that they just keep Nurkic on him one-on-one at all times and you make sure everyone stays close pressed to their man. And I think, should they be able to consistently do that throughout the series, I think they'll ultimately win. And I'm very interested in the series. I love the Blazers. You guys know me. I've said this countless times. I love watching the late night games. Sometimes I feel like I know all the Western teams better than every Eastern team except the Sixers. So I love me a good first round West series. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see the People's MVP and Dame Lillard versus Nikola Jokic.
The People's MVP. Yeah, no, I'm right along with you. I got the Blazers in 6 in this one as well. I'm interested for like the same reasons you are, Max. I'm a Trailblazers guy for some reason. I have a $2 to win $105 preseason throw, value futures for champion Blazers, but I think absolutely not. But I do like the Trailblazers. The roster is constructed. I love Robert Covington here across the process live. And I've never liked Carmelo Anthony, but watching this version of him is just fun to me, and I can get behind that. Blazers in 6. JJ, who can't believe my take. What are we thinking about this Blazers series?
You're lucky we don't have time. I'd make you explain why you don't like Melo. Like, who doesn't like Carmelo Anthony? But I'm gonna go actually Blazers in 7 because there's. We all thought that the Nuggets were going to slide dramatically after Jamal Murray left with the ACL injury, and they didn't. They kind of kept their pace a little bit in the Western Conference, which tells me that there's a fight to this team that we maybe are underestimating just because they lost game 1. Them not having Will Barton is big, and it obviously hurt them in a lot of ways. But this is still a really talented team, and I have to think that we'll maybe see a good game from Aaron Gordon. We maybe see, some people start to rally around Jokic and him find some creative ways to get the offense flowing and them going. With that being said, I do think, Max, you hit it on the head when you said the firepower. That's what the Blazers bring. And when they're hot, there maybe isn't a more like streaky / deadly team in the NBA than the Portland Trail Blazers, because that's all they have is streaky scorers. Damian Lillard, TJ McCollum, Carmelo Anthony. It's just all streaky scorers.
And Nurkic too.
And Nurkic, yeah, when they get going, it's crazy. But maybe the Nuggets can catch them on one of the down streaks, on one of the streaks they don't have. And I do think it's going to be a tough series, but I see the Blazers grinding it out, just more firepower. But I think it goes 7. I see the Blazers in 7 after that.
What are we thinking, B-Apps? So bad.
Yeah. Please, never again.
We're sorry for that.
That's okay.
Gosh,
you can edit that out in post prod, right?
Yes.
We're live.
Yeah, I'm going to edit it
out. Anyway, I think I originally had the Nuggets in 6 in this one, just because unlike Max, I like Western Conference games when the Sixers are playing in it, but it's just like I'm at the age now where I can't stay up past like 10:30 for a late night NBA game unless it's a really, really good one. It's just how things are. But I think I don't know how I can go with the Nuggets anymore. I'm going to stick with Nuggets in 6 just because I have to stick with my word. And that's what I tweeted out a couple days ago. But I'm going to put my confidence. I'm going to put my confidence level at about a 2.5. That's what I'm going to say. In terms of interest level, my interest level in this series is probably like a 5 or 6. And I think that's just because of the timing of when the game is on. I would love to watch it if it were on at 8 p.m., but I just I can't do it. I feel like I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, but I just can't do it.
No flack. It's totally fair. Yeah. There's just some days. I mean, look, being a college student like myself, this is awesome. But there are some days where you can't do it, especially when you hit one overtime and forget it. But moving on to, I just want to start with this so I can say my interest level on this is like a 1.5. Like Celtics versus Nets. I think the Celtics get a game and that's it. Like I don't even have anything to say. Like it's just the Nets are really good. I'll just say this. I'm glad the Celtics aren't playing the Sixers because I thought it would have been easy, but watching Jason Tatum play, he does strike fear in my heart. Nets in 5, plain and simple, snooze fest. Confidence is a 10. JJ, what are we thinking?
Nets in 5. No, I'll say it. Nets in 4 because look at what we watched. Look at what we watched over the weekend. They all rounded into form. KD gives you 35, right? 30, 35, 36. Kyrie gives you 30. James Harden gives you a 25-point triple double. That's exactly how you draw it up on paper if you're the Brooklyn Nets, and that's how it went. Kyrie looks like he's on a mission in this series. At least that's what Game 1 indicates. He played with just an ultimate chip and winning the matchup. But Josh, if you're the Sixers, any Nets series should be interest level 10. Because if I'm going to get to the finals, this is the team I'm going to have to beat. And I only have now 9 games where they've been fully healthy and played. So I need all the tape I can get. You should be interested in every single Nets game. Like that's all the tape that you got. This is playoff tape for them. You got to see how they play. But I'll say the Nets in 4. I'll say the Nets in 4.
I'll leave that to the Sixers and Doc Rivers to watch.
Fair enough.
I'm not interested in this one. And what about you?
I have the Nets in 5 in this one. Although I will say, I said it earlier, it might have been pre-prod, but I'm more afraid of the Bucks and the Net or the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals than I am of the Nets. They have nobody to guard Joel Embiid. Nobody. I'm not afraid of washed Blake Griffin. I'm not going to do it.
I'm
not going to do it. You washed.
Oh, JJ.
Here we go, Max.
Nets in 5. I'm probably going to eat my words because it is KD, it is Harden, and it is Kyrie. But I feel like I'm more afraid of good defense than I am good offense.
No. You can be afraid of good defense over good offense. I'll give you that. You can't be more afraid than the Miami Heat than you are of the Brooklyn Nets. You just
have you seen the Miami Heat zone against the Philadelphia 76ers? We can't figure it out.
Yeah. You also probably won't be able to figure out if 3 players are combining for 70, 80 points.
Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle. I think we'll be okay.
You could do Brandon.
It's a bold prediction.
Brandon, if you want to put one-on-one matchups against those 3 all game and try to live with the result after that, you could do that. You could do that. But these are 3 of the best, maybe the 3 best scorers in the league on one team taking their turn. And they've proven that there's enough air in the basketball for all 3 of them.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited, but I'm just saying I'm more afraid of good defense than I am good offense with the way Sixers are structured. That's all.
All right. I was popcorn ready.
Brendan, I don't necessarily agree with you. Also, don't disagree. I don't agree with that. I am personally scared of the Nets, but I have a whole theory about how starting Matisse Thybulle is going to blow that series apart. I'm sure we will get into that when that bridge, when that comes upon us.
I'll come back on that podcast.
Yeah, that's not it either.
I love it.
That's not it either.
I love it.
That's not it either.
Hey, that's a little app. That's like a 2-3 week teaser right there. That's what we call that in the business. Digits, round us out. Celtics, Nets. Who cares?
Nets in 4. The Nets have a lot of one thing that the Celtics have basically none of, and that is talent on the roster. And I don't know how much of that game you guys watched, but the Nets sleptwalked through 3 quarters and then dominated the 4th. So I'm not really interested in that series because I kind of have a feeling that's how most of the games are going to go. Except for maybe the 2 games in Boston, I think will probably be close-ish, and then maybe they'll be exciting close, not boring close like the game 1 was. But yeah, I'll take the Nets in 4. I would love to see a good Celtics meltdown. I think it does kind of feel like that situation needs a change of some sort. And it does kind of feel like maybe Brad Stevens is at the end of his rope there. So I kind of feel like this is just one of those, what, F this, I'm out of here. This is what you gave me to work with. There's no chance I can compete against, these 3 guys plus their supporting cast. I'm just going to take this one on the chin. But yes, I think JJ made a great point. Any game involving the Nets is of importance to Sixers fans everywhere. If you want an idea of how a series could play out, watch a game and just focus on the Nets. Don't even look at the Celtics. That's kind of what I was trying to do when I was watching the other night, because quite honestly, the Celtics they're not a very good team this year. So they're not going to put up much of a fight when the Heat gets turned up. But I'll say this: I am 99% confident in my Nets sweep prediction.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was going to say, you hear Bill Simmons from The Ringer said he'd rather the Celtics start Peyton Pritchard over Kemba Walker. That's where we've gotten.
That is
the wheels are off. The wheels are absolutely off the wagon.
Loves to see it.
Bill Simmons got some clicks for that one, I'm sure. Good for him. But anyways, gentlemen, I'm going for JJ for this one. Let's come on. Let's hear it, JJ. Let's what do we got?
If the series plays out like it did yesterday, and I'm not even just talking about the Suns win. I'm talking about pace of play, tempo, physicality. The Suns wrap this up in 6. If that's how it shakes out. Anthony Davis can come back to form. LeBron can be healthy. That's okay. The Suns had complete command of the control and the flow of that game from start to finish yesterday. Absolutely all guaranteed. And just if I could take a 30 real quick, if I could have my 30 real quick, I just want to again give props to Chris Paul because he didn't have the greatest game. He didn't have the greatest game 1 yesterday. And God, you want to talk about PTSD. When I see him down on the floor for an extended period of time in the playoffs, I can't breathe. All air leaves the room, and that happened again. But I need to give him credit for having guys like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton and Mikal Bridges ready for a playoff game, because they absolutely looked. It looked like they just stepped in. It was the last game of a regular season or something. It looked like business as usual for them. And Devin Booker playoff debut 34 points. Like that's what great guidance gets you, and great work ethic and repetition. So if everything goes as it went, Suns in 6, and I'm confident in that.
All right. I'm not too surprised with that pick. Brandon, what are you thinking? Are you going with Suns or the reigning champs?
First of all, where's Dario in this little picture of yours? Feeling pretty butthurt about that one. No, I also have the Suns in 6. I mean, they're just such a fun team to watch. Devin Booker is one of the most underappreciated, underrated players in the league. Doesn't get enough love because he's in Phoenix. DeAndre Ayton has gotten so much better. I'm pretty sure there are a lot of people calling him a bust after his first season, but he's becoming one of the most exciting two-way centers in the league. He's very Bam Adebayo-like. He has a similar build to him, and he's just really fun to watch. Their depth and their young players are also super fun to watch. Suns in 6. That's all.
Mr. Digits, what are we thinking here?
I'm gonna say Suns in 7. I cannot fathom the idea of picking against LeBron James on his home court in Game 6. We all know Game 6, LeBron is probably the most dangerous LeBron out there. So I can't see the Suns winning a Game 6 regardless of series score going into that game. In terms of how excited I am to watch this game, it feels like this is, in my mind, it feels like this is destined to the Suns kill them again in Game 2. The Lakers somehow, eke at least one game out at home. I don't know. I feel like this sounds so stupid and cliche, but I just feel like as this series progresses, I feel like the games will become higher quality and be just way better to watch. Like, I'm not particularly interested in Game 2 based on what I saw in Game 1, but in my mind, how I think the Lakers will adapt and how the Suns will be tested, I think like Games 5, 6, and 7 are going to be just like incredible campness. So I'm going to say Suns in 7. I'm going to say 60. I'm going to say 60-40 because it's the Lakers. Like I have ridden the Lakers all year. It is LeBron. It is Anthony Davis. They are the Lakers. They got better after last year. There's a reason they were basically everybody's consensus pick to win the finals before the season started. Shit kind of hit the fan for them. It is what it is. I think that the Suns are good enough. They're talented enough. They're smart enough. They're not just an offensive team. They're not just a defensive team. That is a complete team. And that's the thing the Lakers haven't been. They're not able to piece it together on all fronts on a consistent basis, it feels like. So I think this series will exemplify the consistency rules out, and that's why we play 7 games. And I'll take the Suns in 7. I think it'll be close. I think it'll get better as the pot heats up.
I'm surprised. I got here last Monday. I said the Lakers are cooked. Everyone said I was crazy, and now three of us are picking the Suns in the first round. See, because I think Lakers are. I'm going with the Lakers in 7 games though in this series for one simple reason, and it's not LeBron James. I like DeAndre Ayton a lot. He helped me win my fantasy championship. Thank you. But I think Anthony Davis is ultimately going to take over, and he's going to beat DeAndre Ayton over the course of the 7 games. I think it'll be close. My confidence isn't high, but I do think we see the Lakers come out of this in 7 games. That being said, Lakers are still cooked. They have 0 shot at winning the championship. I'm moving over to what I'm calling the least interesting playoff series. Aside from the Nets Celtics, I know I'd probably be disagreed with here, but Mavs versus Clippers, I'm just going to roll off quick. I think the Clippers win this in 6 games, maybe 7 games, and it's just not very entertaining all the way through. JJ, what are you thinking?
Man, Mavs in 7. Listen, this man, Luka Doncic, walked up in there, yelled at some people, called them too small, put a 30-point triple-double on their dome piece, and walked up out of there. There is no one on the Mavs who's scared of anybody on the Los Angeles Clippers, and that's just fact. Like, the Mavs, the Clippers dodged the Lakers. The Clippers lost so they could face the Mavs in the playoffs. The Mavs said, "This is what y'all wanted. This is what y'all got." And
careful what you wish for.
Careful what you wish for, man. And I love the chip that Luka went in there with on his shoulder. And if he can keep a healthy Porzingis, if he could just keep a healthy Porzingis, the Mavs win this in 6. I loved it.
All right, Mavs in 6. I like. You might have swayed me a little bit. I forgot about the fact that the Mavs chose this matchup. Brandon, what are we thinking?
For this one, I have Clippers in 7. I will say that I think the Clippers are the most boring, exciting team that I've ever seen, because it's just I feel like you look at them and you're just like, oh, like Kawhi and Paul George, that's exciting. Yep. And then you actually watch them play and you're just like, wow, this is boring basketball. They're just
they don't do anything.
They
just hit jumpers.
They
literally just play it's crazy. It is so crazy.
Yeah, and it's hard. I mean, I'm rooting for the Mavericks because I love Luka. Even though Josh Richardson didn't work out here, I'm a Josh Richardson guy. And how could you not love Boban, even though he's never going to see the playoff minute floor? Gotta love me some Bobby. But I think the Clippers, when it comes down to it, I guess this is where I go more towards the net, what we talked about the Nets. I think when push comes to shove, Kawhi and Paul George are going to step up when it matters most, and I think they're going to take it in 7 games.
Yeah, I completely agree. I got the same thing. Max, what are you thinking?
I am going to say Mavs in 6. I'll say 2 things. I think that is hugely dependent on Kristaps Porzingis being able to actually play the whole series. It feels like inevitably he'll just, break a wrist or something and be done for the playoffs after 2.5 games, like is tradition. So that's condition number 1. And I will say this. Condition number 2 is that if it does go to game 7, I think the Clippers will win it. I don't think that Kawhi and Paul George have forgotten about how disastrous game 7 was last year. And I think that the power of those two, it feels pretty hard to bet on them losing a game 7 clunker again. But I do think the Mavs will win the series in 6. And I think the big reason why is going to be coaching. We all know Rick Carlisle. This guy he's been through it all. He's won titles with that team. He has, been in the position to pick Luka Doncic 3rd overall with that team. He's seen every high, every low, and then on top of that, they took it to the Clippers last year in the bubble. The Clippers. It was a Clippers-Lakers playoff series, and the Clippers almost got knocked out early by Luka and the Mavericks, and that was without Kristaps Porzingis. So I think that if he stays healthy, I really think he's the X factor. I think if he stays healthy, I think that's enough for the Mavericks to get it done in 6. You're right, JJ. They're not scared of the Clippers. Nobody on the Mavs scared. Nobody is scared of their opposition on the I almost said the Lakers, on the Clippers, and I really, really think Rick Carlisle is the key to the series because he knows he knows how to manipulate matchups, and I think he knows how to kind of control the game through his players better than Tyronn Lue does.
Confidence is everything. Confidence is everything. And when I watched Luka yell in Patrick Beverley's face, "You're too effing small," and Pat Bev said nothing back, I knew there's something up here that the Clippers don't got right now.
I think Pat Bev will say something back in game 2. Max, I'm coming right back. To you. Hawks versus Knicks. I'm excited about this one. What are we thinking?
I was on the Knicks last week. One home loss isn't going to throw me off. I think it was an anomaly how poor Julius Randle was yesterday. Yep. He shot, I think, 5 of 22 or something like that. After he averaged 38. He averaged 38 and 12 in the regular season against the Hawks. That is pretty disgusting. So I think that it kind of feels like maybe not everything went against the Knicks, but their best player most certainly didn't show up in what ended up being a 2-point home loss. I think that, on the other side of that, it kind of felt like the Hawks just were rolling on all cylinders. They hit some crazy shots down the stretch. The Bojan Bogdanovic shot where he was, fumbling and had to throw it up at the end of the shot clock. That was the biggest shot of that game, not the Trae Young, buzzer beater. But, just things like that. Everything seemed to go Atlanta's way. I'll stick with the Knicks. But I will say that I think that's going to be a pretty boring series to watch. Don't expect many 200-point plus games, I would say.
Oh, but I love boring basketball, Max. Brandon, what are we thinking?
I have the Knicks in 6 in this one. I think it could easily go 7. And I my confidence level in that is probably 50-50 because I think it could go either way. I think the Hawks, a lot of young, unproven talent there with Trae Young being in his first playoffs, Bogdanovich being in his first playoffs, but they do have some good depth with Gallinari, former Knick. And I just don't know. 50-50 here. It's tough to pick. Trae Young, I think it gets no love for how good he is.
That's a good point.
And I wouldn't be surprised if he steals another game for them. I think it could easily go 7. I'm not interested in watching the games. I want the Hawks to win because I live in Atlanta, and if the Sixers move on, then perhaps I'll be able to attend.
Hell yeah.
So
awesome.
I'm hoping Hawks
cheering for the Hawks now as well.
Yeah, I'm hoping Hawks in 6, but I'm gonna pick the Knicks in 6. Go Nerlens.
JJ, what do we got?
I'm going Hawks in 7. To me, it was a coin flip series. This is as pick 'em as it gets. It can't be any more even. Hawks, Knicks, Tom Thibodeau, Nate McMillan, 4-5. Like it's just this is such a close your eyes and pick one, and that's probably the right answer. I will say this: Trae Young debuting a signature shoe, going into the Garden and icing a playoff game in his debut is pretty cold. That's pretty cold.
It's pretty cold, and then telling them it's pretty friggin' quiet here. We're allowed to curse here. I just, I didn't feel right. It's his words, not mine.
I think I did it earlier.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm going crazy. Knicks in 5, baby. That's the last one the Hawks are getting. Knicks 5. I'm so high on the Knicks.
And you see how he just wants to move it rapid fire, right, Brandon? Like, all right, Knicks in 5. Now next one. Like,
now next one.
Wait. Pump the brakes. Knicks
maybe
5.
if we were on hour 11, all right, I'll go. Listen, I think Julius Randle is a monster, and I think he's going to take over this series, and I think we've seen the best of Trae Young, and it still came down to a game-winning shot. Like, that's all I think. I think Julius Randle's going to be better than Trae Young.
After that, game 1, do you think the Knicks go 4 straight now?
Yep, I think the Knicks are going to go 4 straight. And I think Julius Randle to get a double-double and Knicks to win at plus 280 or whatever it is. I'll be taking that every single night.
I guess my one question to you, and I know we want to go quick here, is I guess what's your confidence level in that? Because I feel like the Hawks have more ways. The Hawks have the Hawks have more ways to beat you than the Knicks. If Julius Randle doesn't do anything, then I don't see how the Knicks win. Like Derrick Rose isn't going to lead you over the Hawks. I don't think.
What my thing is, we saw the best of Trae Young and we saw the worst of Julius Randle, and it still came down to a last-second shot. So
neither happened. It wasn't the best of Trae Young, and it wasn't the worst of Julius Randle. Trae Young has given me 50 balls. That wasn't the best of Trae Young.
Trae Young's not giving you any 50 balls in the first round in his first.
You said that was the best of Trae Young.
Yeah,
we've seen the best. It wasn't the best of Trae. We've seen the best of Trae Young. That wasn't the best of Trae Young. Trae Young could pop off for 40 to 50 on any given night.
You'll be getting a nice tweet when the Knicks are celebrating it after Game 5, JJ.
My goodness.
We'll see. We'll see. Last one here, fellas. I am really excited about this matchup. Actually, Donovan Mitchell being out added a nice wrinkle. I'm just gonna say Jazz in 7 here. I think this is gonna go 7 games. I think the Jazz. You saw what happens. They live by the 3, die by the 3. Grizzlies are a scrappy team. I think it's gonna go 7. But I think the Jazz are going to win, and I think they would blow the Grizzlies out in Game 7. JJ, what are your thoughts?
Jazz in 6. Donovan Mitchell watched Game 1 from the sideline, decided that stops right now. The Jazz had the best record in the NBA pretty much from start to finish, except for a couple of weeks. And when you pluck the best player out of that, it's going to throw some things off. So they lost Game 1. But Donovan Mitchell's coming back to put a stop to that. I don't know how far the Jazz go after the series, but Jazz in 6 when he comes back. They'll tighten it up.
Let's hear it, Brandon.
I have Jazz in 7 in this. As much as I would love to pick the Grizzlies, John Morant. I'm so glad that we get to watch him play in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And how about Dylan Brooks? He's a lot of fun to watch. I think I saw somebody post a picture of him on Twitter today and called him Evil Danny Green. Just look at it. It's very spot on. But I think Jazz in 7. Good. I still think Rudy Gobert is a fraud. I don't think the Jazz make it out of the second round, but I think they win. I think they win this one in 7. Interest level on this one is probably an 8 just because of the Grizzlies. I have no interest in the Jazz. Confidence level on the Jazz probably 9 or 10.
Yeah. I like that's a good way to put it. Your confidence is like a 9 or 10, yet we both still have them going 7. That's a good way to put it. Digits, round us out. What are we thinking?
I'm also going to take the Jazz in 7. I think that they couldn't have probably gotten like a worse match. Like, I think the Jazz would have much rather played the Warriors in the first round than the Grizzlies. I think Valanciunas is someone who can eat Rudy Gobert up on the inside. I think John Morant is someone that the Jazz don't really have a singular answer for. Like Mike Conley, no. Donovan Mitchell is not a premier defender. You know, he'll give it the effort. He's not that guy. You know, Jordan Clarkson obviously doesn't play defense on anyone. I think the Jazz are ultimately more talented and experienced, and I think it'll probably go something like the Jazz wins will just be huge, convincing blowouts that, you know, the starters don't play basically anything in the fourth quarter, and the games the Grizzlies wins are going to finish, you know, 94-93 with every single starter playing 44-plus minutes and just, you know, being absolutely brutal. The last 2 minutes of the halves take 30 minutes apiece with all the fouls. It's going to be one of those classic grit and grind series, but I think the Jazz will ultimately edge it out because they are a more talented roster. And my interest level in this series is solely dependent on what jerseys are being worn because we have very great jersey options for both sides and very bland and mediocre jersey options for both sides. So that will determine how interested I am.
I love that. That couldn't have been a better of an answer, to be honest.
Well, gentlemen, that's going to wrap us up before we head into tap outs. Just a quick reminder that you can get us in podcast form if you're watching us on video, you're watching us live. Check us out on podcast. The classic cliche that every single person who has a podcast has ever said, wherever you can get your podcast. Well, it's true. All right. It's not our fault that it's literally true.
Right, I was going to say it like you mean it, though.
How can you not roll your eyes every time you hear a podcast say wherever you get your podcast? Like, I'll give myself the eye roll. It's the worst. But anyways, gentlemen, that's going to move us into tap outs. Who's got a nice tap out to finish off this NBA playoff show?
I'll go first. Set the tempo for the tap outs. I don't know if you guys have heard my voice for the last hour and 17 minutes, but it's very hoarse and very raspy. I just got back from Lost City, West Virginia, with 8 of my closest friends. We kind of just all one day just said, you know, fuck it. We kind of need to get out of town and go out and clear the air. So I rented an Airbnb mountain house up in Lost City, West Virginia, kind of unplugged for the weekend. I mean, kind of, we had the Wi-Fi there, but it was awesome. Just highly recommend. Just anybody, if you have the time, the resources, the ability to kind of just take a trip with the friends, you know, leave responsibilities behind for, you know, not long, 3-4 days, reconnect as a group, you know, clear your mind, clear the air, and then come back to reality. I highly recommend it, man. I couldn't have more fun with this weekend. Shout out my guys.
Yeah, man. As you were saying, I'm like, man, I've been cooped up. This quarantine and all. Let's go somewhere.
Just get out.
Love to hear it. What do you got? Any tap outs?
Well, I guess basing it on that tap out, I will try and guess at what a tap out is by saying what mine is. But in terms of going on to trips and coming back, I guess my tap out is Saturday was the 2 weeks after I got married, so that's exciting. We went. There you go. Yeah, I'm off the market, ladies.
All the ladies who watch us.
All the ladies that are watching or listening that don't know what I look like, but are listening to that voice and being like, "Oh, those soft and dulcet tones." I could, you know. Anyway, yeah. So it was great. It was a great day. Like you said, I got to reconnect with friends that I haven't seen in a while. Again, I'm located in Atlanta. Got to marry my best friend, and of course, she's looking at me now like, "Don't forget to talk about me." So it was nice to see friends that I haven't seen in a while, family I haven't seen in a while, and then we got to go on a week-long trip. And coming back to reality kind of sucked. You know, it wasn't great, but at least we have Sixers basketball now. Yes, sir. And that's great. But yeah, that's my tap out, and my second tap out 2.0 is thank you guys for having me on. It's been a great time.
Thank you for coming, man.
Of course,
and plug yourself.
Yeah,
yeah. I was gonna say So I'm Garbage into Gold, a Sixers podcast. Me and my co-host Jesse Larch, who told me earlier today that he'd love to come on the show when you guys are having guests some other time. So
Tell
would love to collaborate. You can find Garbage into Gold on all podcast platforms.
There you go.
Yeah.
Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever.
Stitcher, Google
You can
Play.
find it on, all of them. So we're on there. You can follow us on Twitter at Garbage into Gold. And we're going to have a new episode after game 2. So excited to see the Sixers get another dub.
Love it. I'm there.
Just
I'm
simply
tuned
can't
in.
get enough of the name. That's just such a
It's good stuff.
It's
that's
so
such a
good.
great name. It's so
Did you got to tap out?
I just got a quick PSA for everybody. If there's something that's just like super insignificant and totally has like little to no impact on your daily life, but it's something that you need to do, like maybe just something you need to buy, or like something you need to mail to somebody, or just like something that you know is in the back of your head and you've just not been doing it because you haven't felt like it. Here's your sign to go do so. I've been out an AirPods charging case for about 3 weeks, and I just haven't had it in me to, go and get another one. So I finally did that yesterday.
Laundry, Max.
And it was,
I don't want to do laundry.
exactly, that's what I mean. This is your sign.
That's it.
Go do that stupid mundane thing that you've just been, procrastinating for the last couple of weeks. Take it from me. Just do it. Get that charging case so you can have, wireless headphones again. Metaphorically speaking.
Max, it's a good tap out, but my tap out's kind of like undoing yours because I was putting off getting my laptop fixed for the longest time, and right now it is currently in the ASUS headquarters. It was supposed to be a routine screen replacement, have it in a couple days, and it's turned into a 2-week excursion that involved the warranty. And I'm mad about that. But my tap out is actually a message to the National Basketball Association. This is not directed at the refs calling things against the Sixers. We're big boys. We're a 1 seed.
It was bad. No, it was bad.
Look, listen, we're a 1 seed. I can take a few bad calls my way, but just the whistles after whistles. This is the playoffs. So, there needs to be a league-wide memo that says, hey, just less fouls, all right? I get it, regular season. It's an offensive league. You want more scoring. But in the playoffs, let the guys bruise it a little, all right? That's my tap out. That's my PSA. What's up, Brandon?
By the way, just last thing, super short. Shake Milton got 1 second-place vote for 6.
Let's go.
I don't know.
Attaboy.
Wow. That's
Attaboy.
shocking. I love Shake, man. I love Shake, but that's a bit shocking. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap it up. What I say, hour 20, hour 22 here. What an episode, gentlemen. But we are brought to you by My New Philly, where something's always news. And everything's always Philly.
And everything.
And great news for everybody is that it's not even halftime yet. It's the end of the first quarter. The Bucks are up 26.
There we go.
Don't even need to watch it.
Don't even need to watch it.
Don't bother.
Just go back to just turn on that Phantom Phillies game that you won't be watching, Brandon. Brandon, thanks for joining us, and folks, we'll be seeing you next Monday or tomorrow if you listen to the podcast. Adios.